Games Workshop's Basement. Hosted by John Kirk.
I command you, as King of the Britons, to stand aside. Now stand aside, worthy adversary.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
Well, what's that then?
I've heard worse.
Victory is mine. We thank thee, Lord, that in thy mercy...
All right, hey, look, we're into we're into real armies now. Done with the Bretonians. Move past the Maginot Line. Right into the Wood Elf realms.
Okay.
Forest of Lauren. What a beautiful place. We got beautiful people there. So strengths of Wood Elves. Wood Elves have insane movement and great shooting. They have a lot of arrows that are magic, and they get to choose what those effects are
Nice.
by paying points for them.
Okay.
The weaknesses, they are the most fragile army in the game. There's many units do not have armor, don't even have the option to buy armor.
Yep.
Like they just don't have that stuff. There are some ward saves scattered across the army, and there's a couple of units that are tougher, like Treekin or Treemen. So you have some options there, but
How are those
You gotta
blunderbusses
be-
going into these guys? How's that going?
I'm gonna shoot those guys so much before they even get anywhere close to my elves. I'm telling you that right now.
All right. Fine,
That's like
fine.
target number one. You could charge me with knights. I don't care. Like, but I'm
Those
gonna kill those
goddamn
blunderbuss guys
blunderbusses.
because those guys will. Because the guys with shotguns are like super effective against elves.
Yeah, they are.
It's hard to dodge a shotgun blast.
Another
yeah,
weakness is toughness. You said.
So I mean, same thing, right?
Yeah.
So like this is a combination of one huge weakness is fragility, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about snowflakes here. So these guys, they win by kind of playing very skirmishy. So they move around the table. They really try and kind of set up charges in really important ways, so that they aren't taking any hits from their opponents. So they're moving kind of around the flanks of units or out of range of shooting and that kind of stuff. Like that is their MO. They're very like hit and run. And then they kind of come together for like a big charge to try and get points, usually in the last turn or two of the game, where they try and run down the enemy after they've weakened them by shooting them all game long.
Okay.
Ideally, that's how they play. Your goal as their opponent is to catch them and make sure they don't get to do that.
Step on their LV heads.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
step on their heads.
Yep.
So the three best units. I like 5-man archer units. I don't know. What can I say?
Okay.
Deepwood scouts are amazing. They're already evasive. They already have scout. They're ballistic skill 5. You can take 2 units as core choices. They're skirmishers. Like they fill all the right for you. They're just an awesome unit. You can pay for other things like fire and flee and that kind of stuff if you want to. You don't have to. They're just great, just with their basic rules and whatever magic arrows you decide to give them. So there's 5 different magic arrows, and they all affect the longbow. The Wood Elf longbow is better than a normal longbow because it has 2 inches extra of range. I know that doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you suffer a -1 penalty for moving into range, and if you're just out of range shooting somebody, like it's significant to get like the first strike, right?
Yeah.
It also increases their short range by 1 inch, which is pretty effective. Anyway, the magic arrows they get, you got -2 to your armor save from arcane bodkins. It gives all their arrows AP -2. Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Hagbane tips are poisoned on their shots.
Okay.
Moonfire arrows are flaming and magic attacks.
Okay.
Swift shiver shards are multiple shots 2 on their bows. And then you have true flight arrows, which ignore cover, and also are quick to fire, which means that they don't suffer a -1 penalty for stand and shoot.
Okay.
So you can equip these to any shooting unit. Glade Riders, Deepwood Scouts, Way Watchers. They work now with the Bow of Lauren, so you can double up your shots with that. So you could potentially give your guy Swift Silver Shards and shoot 8 shots with your Bow of Lauren. I think I'd have to double check that. Anyway,
what's your choice
so
of arrow here?
you have a lot of arrows that you can choose from. So
what's your choice
Glade,
of arrow? What are we bringing? What's actually in our quiver?
I have made it depends on the unit, right? So I want to have enough arcane bodkins that I can deal with any knights. Because knights would traditionally be a really tough counter for Wood Elves, I think, because even though I have a lot of arrows, like if you have good armor saves, I'm not going to do enough damage to you before you get to me. But with arcane bodkins, now I'm AP -2, AP -3 on 6s. Like I'm just doing a ton of work against heavily armored units.
Yeah, for sure.
After I make sure I have enough of those for my main damage dealing units, then I'm going to switch over to probably Hagbane tips or Swift Shiver Shards. So that's poison attacks or multiple shots too. So depending on how you want to put those units in, Anyway, I think that's probably what I would run.
Smart. Okay.
Glade Riders, another amazing unit. They're Wood Elf fast cavalry. They have up to 2 units in your list can buy or 1 unit per 1,000 points can buy reserve move for 1 point a model. And so movement 9 cavalry with longbows and magic arrows that cannot move, shoot you, and then move at the end of the movement phase so they don't take an extra -1 to hit is really good. Yeah. Or just being able to move like within range to shoot somebody and then out of line of sight or past their flank or whatever else. And then in addition to that, they're just elves with cavalry spears. So they actually can like tear up light units pretty well. And they're skirmishers, so they can do this stuff in any direction.
Very interesting.
They seem really annoying to get to grips with. So anyway, cool unit. The last unit I want to talk about was War Dancers. War Dancers are like the quintessential. They're the lightly armored elf unit that like has a bunch of different dances they can do to like hit hard. They can be AP -2. They can get +1 attack. They already have Furious Charge. They have 2 hand weapons. They're like weapon skill 6 with always strikes first. So they're going to get to swing on you, and they're skirmishers. So they're just going to get to line up like as many guys as they possibly can to fight you with a bunch of attacks. Probably if you're knights, they're AP -2. If you're not, then they're going to be just normal, like double hand weapons. So like probably 3 attacks a model if you charge them with +1 attack. Yep. So they're cool. They have a ward save. They're just a really nice, like, attacking unit. They fight really well. They're pretty points efficient. I think they're 16 points a model, which is pretty reasonable for what they do.
All
right. Magic items. I'm going to say Bow of Lauren is the one I want to talk about. And this one is a magic longbow that lets you shoot with your number of attacks as shots. So like my Glade my Glade Lord, he will shoot 4 times if you give him this bow at strength 4. With Arcane Bodkins at -2 AP or -3 if I roll a 6 to wound. Hitting on 2s because he's weapon skill 1,000,000. Pretty good. As far as spells go, they have got a couple signature spells. I really like Tree Singing. That's probably my favorite one. It lets you just put a forest within like 18 inches of the caster, and it can be a big forest if you roll like a 5-inch template, or it can be, or normally it's a 3-inch template. But that's a really big deal because there's a bunch of elf rules that interact with being around forests. Like the whole army has moved through cover, so they ignore all the movement penalties for going through woods or charging through woods, whereas your opponent does not. So you want to they can also still place an extra wood on the table as long as it's outside of your opponent's deployment zone. If enemies are in woods, then they become disrupted, so they don't get rank bonus.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So you want to fight them in the woods, and Wood Elves are totally capable of doing that because they can put extra woods down.
That's weird. Wood Elves want to fight in the woods.
Yeah, I know. You would never think.
You would never think.
You would.
All right, Danny, we talked about these pointy-eared sons of guns. Show me your list. What do we got here?
All right. Dickie, this list really kind of emphasizes high mobility. Everything in here is very fast. Several of the units fly. Really, the slowest units are the 2 tree men. But they want you to catch them. So I've kind of actually thought of doing a weird movement trick. I think it's maybe kind of stupid. But if you put like two monster bases, kind of like, oh, here, I'll move into my camera here, kind of like this, right? Like, and your opponent has to charge them, right? One of them, and wants to align. If they can't fit it so that they can charge that model, they have to charge both, and then the monsters align to them, and they get a disorder charge, which is like no initiative to your charge bonus, which I think is pretty cool.
Okay.
I think I can kind of manipulate it a little bit like that with these tree men. Anyway, so I put a Glade Lord on a dragon because dragons are cool.
Yeah, they are.
Yep. Forest Dragon is especially cool. It's strength 7.
That is pretty cool.
Which is really nice. That puts it up there with the Star Dragon, being one of the strongest dragons in the game. It also has a multiple damage bite attack, which is, I think, a little different, which is nice. And then it has 5 other strength 7 -2 attacks and D6 stomps.
That's pretty good.
It fights pretty good. He also shoots really good. So he's got the Bow of Lauren. So like we talked about, 4 shots, strength 4, -2, -3 sometimes. He also has Relarian's Mantle, which gives him a 4+ ward save if he's within 6 inches of a forest.
Okay.
Which I can do with my level 4 Tree Man Ancient, because he can swap to Tree Singing. So I gave him Annoyance of Netlings, which gives him -1 to hit when he's in a challenge.
Okay.
Which is pretty annoying because he's already like weapon skill 5, so a lot of stuff is hitting him on 4s or 5s. Then I have a Glade Captain, who's my battle standard bearer on an Elven steed, with Arcane Bodkin's Cavalry Spear and the Resplendence of Luminescence, which gives his unit magic attacks, which I think is pretty cool in a lot of scenarios because a lot of people lose bonuses if they get hit by magic attacks. So if I can make a unit give all my bows magic attacks and Arcane Bodkins, I think that it can do even more damage than it normally could. Because there's a lot of rules that say, I get a 6-up ward save against non-magic attacks. Well, you don't get it against these guys. So then I have a unit of 5 Glade Guard with Hagbane tips. So they have 5 poison shots because I have to take 1 unit of Glade Guard. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't take these guys if I had to. I think I'd probably take more Glade Riders. Maybe not. I don't know. Glade Guard are fine. Like their points are fine. They're just not the best choice, especially when I can take other stuff instead, like Deepwood Scouts, because they're just better in almost every single way for just a few more points a model. And so I took 2 units of those also with Hagbane tips.
Yeah.
So the goal of these guys is to kill war machines or monsters, because poison attacks means I auto wound on 6s to hit. So toughness 7 stuff doesn't really matter. And I can just do like the extra little bit of chip damage to those big things, which is really, really helpful. Then I have 2 units of 10 Glade Riders. These guys have full command and, they have Arcane Bodkins as well.
Okay.
So these guys have a bunch of AP -2 shots, and they're going to ride around and shoot people with bows and try and stay out of like charge arcs until I can combo charge with them and like a dragon or one of the tree men to try and break some units that way, because they can do pretty good like that. Now, they're like 19 points a model, and they don't have an armor save. So you have to play them very, very carefully, especially if your opponent has units with like bows and that kind of stuff that can like actually do a bunch of damage to you. So
shotguns.
Yeah, or shotguns. So the goal against units like that is to never have them get close to you. If you can block them out with your scouts, which this army has a lot of. The nice thing about the Glade Riders is they also have reserve move. So these guys can move after they shoot. So you can move into range of somebody like that you want to shoot them, and then move back out of range. So they can do some shenanigans like that.
Nice.
Then I have 2 Great Eagles. These guys are charge redirectors, war machine hunters. They're 60 points. They fly, movement 10. So they're pretty cool. Just a chaff unit. They can beat up little units and stuff like that. They have 3 attacks now. I was pretty happy about that. And a stomp. And then I have a tree man with the befuddlement of mischiefs, because tree mans can take woodland spites.
Yeah.
And that lets him pick a unit that he's in melee with and give them -1 weapon skill and -1 initiative.
Oh, that's really good.
Yep, especially since these guys both have tree whack, which makes people take initiative tests, or they take D3 auto hits at the monster's strength value with no armor saves. So pretty good.
He just hits him with a big branch.
Yeah, just gives them the big whack.
Nice.
So this is a really finicky, finessey army. I think it's probably kind of hard to play.
Yeah.
I tried to play it the other day unsuccessfully, but I think if I would have played it, like if I would have deployed a little bit better, I think I definitely a match I could have won. So I don't feel that it's like bad or anything. I just needed to not be bad.
Well, the dragon's super scary.
The dragon's scary. The tree men are pretty good in combat. It shoots a lot of shots, but like can be very like hard to get to terms with, really.
Yeah.
So
the arcane bodkins terrify me as a Bretonnian player.
Yeah, there's like 25 arcane bodkin shots in this list. So and the tree men shoot too. They have strangle roots.
Nice.
So yeah, anyway.
Okay.
It's a fun list. I really like it. I'm going to play it some more. I might make some changes. Like I might give the Annoyance of Netlings to the dragon, just because that makes him even more annoying if he's -1 to hit in challenges and weapon skill 7. I think that's going to be make him a lot harder to hit. So
interesting. Wow.
Anyway,
an interesting concept. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
It's time to step into the grim darkness with nerds gather talking Warhammer madness. Grim After Dark, the podcast with the hosts John, Danny, and Val, but they're not the most. Claiming to be experts, but it's all a facade. Talking about battles and dice rolls, they're all odd. Trying to sound cool with their Warhammer talk, but I'm here to expose it's all just squawk. Nerds, everywhere I see talking Warhammer this, like it's a decree. But let me tell you, homie, it is all just a game. In the real world, homie, we are not the same. So put down the dice, step out of the dark. It's time to live life, nerd, make your own mark. Grim After Dark, the nerds playground. Talking Warhammer this, acting all profound. But when I listen, it's all just a bunch of noise. I love roasting nerds and their stupid ass toys. Stupid ass toys, I wanna grab them, put my hands around the neck, squeeze, Warhammer squeeze, until they can't breathe again. Tell a friend, I'm out here roasting nerds again.